I hope everyone had a nice lunch too. I'm all fresh, so we're gonna start animating scene 18. During lunch I pulled in all the sound files and did the lip sync pass, so we don't have to listen to it 10 million extra times on stream. So we're just gonna start with our eyebrow pass. I also pulled in the opaque background sample from Sandy so that we know where the table is a little bit more. I thought that impacted where I would have put some of the arms. And then I'll be aware when it's behind the computer too. Like maybe I can angle it so we can see it a little bit better. Alright, so brows pass. Here we go.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. I guess you better. I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No.
Hold that longer until she answers the question.
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Okay. So if we take Medlast out, so if we take Medlast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collections? What happens to...
Okay, so that's an S instead of a W for some reason, so it just doesn't like the W's, the transcript lip sync. I'm not sure why. Consistently, if there's an error, though, it's a W. I just have to turn up my sound a little bit. Hopefully it's not blasting you out of your seat and the sound levels are good. Hi, viewer.
What happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but...
Okay, be surprised there.
Obviously, it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No. Not all of it.
How much? How much of the problem would you say it would account for? Did you say it would account for?
I don't know. I don't know. 10%? I suppose.
Okay. Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing?
Again, it doesn't, it's dropping the W.
The other 90%. Judy. Judy, what are you? What are you going to do about this?
Awesome. Browse pass is done, I think.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. Responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Nice. Okay, I'm happy with eyebrow pass. Now I'm going to work on his arms, so I'll just pull out a little bit. Or I guess his hands first.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess. I guess you better. All right.
Let's hold that a bit longer.
I guess you better. Are there other... Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No.
Ruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Okay. So if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the...
Missing a W in there again.
Would it account for... Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay. 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 So let's... Okay. So let's say that I'm responsible. Responsible for 10% of the problem.
That's a long space to hold that.
What's causing the other 90%?
do that differently because I think that's too long to be in one spot. So
The problem. What's causing the other?
we'll go for the big gesture here. What's causing? Because that's really the crux of this scene. What is causing the problem? So big gesture.
What's causing the other 90%? Judy. Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Let's watch that. I think that'll look all right. When we do the biceps pass, that's when we're going to want to be a little more careful where the computer and the table are and see if we can adjust it so that we can see as much of his hands change as possible. I don't know. It's still worth it just to move the biceps naturally, but I'm hoping maybe it'll hang underneath. Or all right, so let's watch from the beginning.
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for...
All right, let's work on forearms. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll do his right hands first. Okay, open palm. We're gonna leave.
Are there other...
No, not that I can think right now.
Okay, open palm. We leave on forearm 4. And another open palm that we'll leave. Okay, open flat. All right, we can put in our left forearms. Okay, that's the first instance. That one's open palms, so doesn't need forearms. Open gesture. All right, those forearms are done. I think we're going to want to change some of them. Oh, let's watch it first and see.
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Okay, so again, that hand, I like that hand being on straight. Have I used open up? Okay, so I'm going to undo those keyframe changes because it looks alright on the donut, but it might be worth putting in open gesture with the hand pointing down off the wrist like that. Yeah, that's not bad.
Okay. So if we take medlast out of the equation, what happens?
Yeah, if these were all pointing down, that would be better, right? Because then his arm would be. So yeah, I didn't build this handset, and I can see the advantage of having them at a couple of different angles. I just, like, for myself, when I'm expecting it to see it coming straight off the wrist, that's what I kind of have in my head when I'm selecting the hands and the forearms. So that's why I'm having a little bit of a jimmy here. But it's worth trying them all. Like, that one looks actually alright. I still would prefer it if the hand was off. Normally I'd just go in and switch it, but because we've done 2 scenes already with this handset, if I wanted at a different angle now, my smarter thing would be just to add a new hand at the new angle. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it on the donut because that does seem to be the best anyway. And unfortunately it'll be mostly blocked by the computer.
What happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I wonder if we should do left hand. Let's do a left hand.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Not bad, not bad. Okay, we're ready to go in and do our biceps pass. Sorry for scrolling through. I keep forgetting that other people are listening now and how horrible that is to listen to. Okay, so I'm going to do my right hand first. So what's he saying there?
I guess you better. You better.
And I'm just going to twirl those down. Sorry, the computer fan's really loud today. It doesn't like streaming and computer animator open at the same time.
I guess you better.
Okay, and then I'll do his left hand. Oops.
You better.
Okay, it'll be kind of hidden by the table there, we can see, but that's all right.
I guess you better. Are there other...
Okay, so back to his right hand.
other told you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Back to his left hand.
Okay.
Sadly, again, hidden by the computer, but you'll be able to see a part of it, so it's worth animating it even if it's behind. We may add more hands so he can look at his computer, but I don't know if he'll have to. It kind of like, yeah, we'll see how it looks.
Okay.
And remember, pull it past.
Take men. Okay. So if we take men. What happens to the average? To the average. Average number of collection days. That's out of the equation. What happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account?
Back to his right hand.
Out for the.
No, not all of it.
How much of the?
Back to his left hand. It's important to use the right dragger. Just keep your timeline. Like if say we show it to the boss and he wants a few changes, and you've mixed up your left and your right draggables in here, it's going to be really a lot trickier to change. So it's worth being careful about that.
How much of the?
I don't know how much we're gonna be able to see. Might look weird having his fingers poking out behind the computer, but let's try it and see.
Problem would you?
We'll be able to tell once I pull the foregrounds in, but it might be an issue.
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay. Okay. So let's. Okay. Let's say that. So let's say that what's causing...
Okay, and this can be a pretty big gesture. This is like the root of the scene. What's causing the problem?
What's causing...
Okay, and we'll go back and do his left hand at the same time. Maybe I'll try and do it down here a little bit, so see if it looks any better coming off the bottom of the table instead. Although his elbow's kind of in the wrong spot. This little thing is just refresh, so if you've pulled your dragger and it's walked up your elbows and everything, you can click this little refresh button and it'll...
You're 90%. What's causing the other 90%? Judy.
Back to the right hand.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna do about it? Judy, what are you gonna do about this?
Nice. All right, let's watch it through and see how it looks with the biceps, and then we'll be able to do a head take already. Sorry, everybody, I thought I signed out. I thought I signed out of Facebook. Sorry, everybody. The binging is me.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Nice. I think that turned out pretty good. Like, it already looks all right without the torso and the head take, so That's what we're aiming for, really. So I think we're ready to do the head take. So remember, activate everything and turn off what we've already animated. So triggers are done, right hand and left hand are done, lip sync is done, and we're going to do the eye gaze later, so I'm going to turn that off. The reason I do it that way is like sometimes we have rigging with long hair and everything, and there's like ears and earrings with different physics, so sometimes you can have like 30 things to turn on. So even though with a simple puppet there's more to turn off than on, it's still a good way of doing it for me. Okay, and sadly remove my glasses for the take. Turn my recording speed down to 75. Get a little bit warmed up. I'll zoom in just a little.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, not bad. Ooh, that made my eyes water. I do a lot of blinking, and then it interferes with the auto blink, and sometimes he does like a triple or a quadruple blink. Alright, I'll put my glasses back on and we'll zoom out and take a peek how that looks. Remember, we're going to be deleting the opaque background, so some of this stuff interfering, just ignore it. So let's zoom to where he starts.
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, I like that. I think that turned out pretty good. So James is completed for that scene. I'm just going to delete that James and Judy so I don't forget to do it later. And we're ready to work on Judy's version of the same scene. So again, at lunchtime, I pulled in everything, got the scene all ready to go. I pulled out all the James talking portion on the lip sync line. I haven't tightened up the lip sync. I'll kind of do that as I go. It looked pretty good this time. There wasn't a ton of W's. Yeah, maybe in here. Let's take a peek at this one.
No, not all of it.
Oh.
Of it.
How much of the...
Okay, so that's pretty good. How about in here? Let's zoom in and see what we're actually doing here.
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let... Judy, what are you...
Okay, nice. Yeah, sometimes the auto lip sync with transcript just works almost perfectly. There's like 2 W's to add, and you're good to go. I find nice little touches to add in are like when you can hear their mouth open or close, or when you can hear them sigh or take a deep breath. It adds quite a bit of life to add that into the lip sync, and the transcript does not pick those up normally. Occasionally it'll pick up the but oftentimes that can break the transcript too. Okay, so we're ready to do the hands pass. And again, she's going to be hidden, so now that I know where the coffee cup and the table and everything is, I'm just going to try and accommodate that a little bit more. I didn't have this opaque background in this morning. I forgot to put it in, and I noticed like quite a few times I could have very easily put it a little bit lower or a little bit higher to actually see her hand. It just happened to be behind the table. So I'm hoping having this opaque background instead of animating into white space will help me a lot. Hey Sandy! Welcome. It's going pretty smooth today. I'm starting to remember what the hands look like, so animation goes a lot faster when you check your list and you know exactly the hand that you want. I'm still having a little bit of an issue on him, not so much on her, but on him with a few of the hands being at the wrong angle. And I was saying earlier that probably I would normally, if it was just the beginning, I would just go in and twirl those hands. But because we've already done 2 scenes with this hand set and I'm not sure where they're used, it would populate through the whole animation. So now if I want the hand at a different angle, I'm kind of forced to add a new hand to the hand set. But that's not terrible. Like by the time you get to the last scene, you've got the perfect hand set for this character. You can also always go back in if you get a sequence that's really nice and it's like, man, that's a handy hand. You can go back in and add it into earlier scenes because it repopulates through the whole puppet if you add them. All right, so let's work on the hand pass.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter?
Okay, so she's feeling pretty sarcastic already. Let's do that with the right hand.
So should I then go ahead and...
Sorry, left hand. My bad. It's hard switching back and forth, like my left and her left are...
issue... So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of... warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not... not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Actually, let's put that one on the right hand because it's not as important. So if it's blocked a little bit, it won't impact as much, and it'll give us an opportunity to use her other hand. Why does it go to the end sometimes?
Okay.
It's just really annoying.
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but
Oops.
figure it out, but obviously... to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire...
Let's put that on the other hand. And I'm getting mixed up between my left and right here. We wanted that open up. And we want that deleted.
Figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you doing?
Okay, so when she goes, I wonder, this is, can I make her look like she's shrugging? That's kind of what I'm hoping, because she has to do some kind of reaction there. Although when you're feeling super down like that, the boss just giving you crap, maybe you'd just be looking at oh yeah, let's make her, oh, I just realized I forgot to do a brow pass. But here might be an opportunity to just make her look down, like she's embarrassed and unhappy. So eye contact would be bad. It'll add to the shrug maybe, so let's see how that looks.
Judy.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm realizing too that I forgot to do a brows pass, so let's just finish up the hands pass and we'll go back and do the brows pass.
What are you going to do about this?
So should I then go?
Actually, I don't think she'd be surprised. She's unhappy, so I'm going to put worried there instead of surprised.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collection?
And there I would be surprised. I'll give a little extra movement to her face too, instead of always going to the surprised.
Issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No.
Worried again instead of surprised because she's not happy.
No, not that I can. No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out.
Okay, worried again, I think, instead of surprised. She's feeling quite defensive here.
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Okay, so I think we could go up on
Figure it
obvious.
out, but
Okay, so remember to split your thing, or your Visine Control-D, then we'll make that surprised.
figure it out, but obviously it's going to help. But obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No.
Again, not surprised, probably worried.
No, not all of it. 'No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I wonder if here's another opportunity for her to look down like she's thinking.
I don't know.
And then she doesn't sound super mad, but I think still worried, so we'll stick with that one.
I don't know. 10%. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Okay, oh man, I like those looking down. That's a nice little, I kind of forget that we could do that with eye gaze, but the looking down looks odd. They get white above their pupils and it doesn't incorporate the eyelids, so putting in those looking down eyes on the brows layer is great. The brows add a lot of expression, so it's nice to have a good selection there. So let's watch it with the brow pass and the hands.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%?
Man, I really like those down brows. That was a good addition there, Sandy. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I get a little self-conscious re-listening to the whole scene over and over. Normally, if I was by myself animating, I'd probably watch this 2 or 3 times just to... It also helps I kind of memorize the sound file a little bit, so then when you go to act the head, you know what's coming, like you know the script a little bit better. But it's horrifying to listen to, so I'm probably not watching it over as much as I normally would. I'll just take pity on you, stream. So let's work on the biceps pass. So we're starting with her left hand, so we're going to turn everything off and, oops, arm left hand. What's happening here? There we go, arm left hand. I'll just pull it a little bit.
So should I then go...
Oops. Got a bit of a lag spike there. There we go. Why isn't her arm moving very nicely? Oh, I see what I did. Her rest pose. Okay, her rest pose, see how I have right hand and it's draggable left wrist, and her arm wasn't moving correctly, so that was my bad there. I just deleted the wrong rest pose, so I'll just grab that again, go back to the scene that I was working on and put it in. Okay, so now this is what I did. So I want left hand, left wrist, right hand, not left wrist. So my bad. So yeah, if you suddenly find your dragger is not working, often that's what you've done is use the dragger on a different layer, and then it kind of remembers what layer, and it just doesn't move nearly as nice as it should. So let's try that again. Oh yeah, see? It moves way better. Okay, so what was she saying again?
So should I then go ahead?
Potentially a good idea not to eat and animate at the same time. You make silly mistakes like that.
So should I then...
And let's turn that closed. Okay, and I think we do want some forearms on this one.
Except sending it to... do a letter, warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right.
Okay, so back to right hand. Okay, so here's where, like, I might have put it under the table, but I don't have to put it under the table. Let's put it beneath the table so that it's not hidden.
I can think.
So that's the advantage, I guess, of not animating into that white void like I was doing earlier this morning.
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take medlast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out.
Okay, so we got right and left hand here, so let's do her right hand first. And again, don't hide it under the table because we don't have to.
But
Make sure to twirl that up. And then we'll do your left hand right away.
figure it. Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously.
Okay, and I think we're going to want forearms on that one as well.
But obviously it's...
Okay, and I think we went to 3 last time and we thought that was pretty good.
But obviously...
The wrong take there, so let's do that again.
It's gonna help. But obviously it's gonna help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem?
That's just my rest pose arm that I forgot to drag right to the end of the scene. It's the little mistakes. That would have taken me like 45 minutes to figure out when I was first learning. Why did her arm suddenly move there for no reason?
10%, I suppose. No.
I'm gonna do her right hand at the same time because we're here. Okay, and again I think that's too high up. Yeah, I think we're fine putting it there. I mean, it's pretty obvious what she's doing, and I think it's better to be natural behind the table
No.
if you have to be behind the table than to just try and avoid putting anything behind the table, if that makes sense. That'll look kind of unnatural.
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for. Judy.
Okay, so that's a long space for her to do nothing. Let's see if we can make her shrug a little bit here. So I think maybe if we put open up hands. Not bad, not bad. Okay, but we won't record them both at the same time, so her left hand. It's a little lower, like normally I'd probably that's not, well, it'll be completely hidden behind the table. I think we're better off to put it a little below the table, a little bit, so you can at least see that it's the same hands.
Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Okay, so I think we're ready for a head take on Judy. I'm reluctant to make everyone watch it at least one more time all the way through. But definitely it's a good idea to watch it quite a few times. Like it really helps you when you go to the acting the torso and the head stage. If you're really familiar with the scene audio, you'll have a big advantage. So it's just horrible to listen to someone else listening to it. But let's zoom out a little bit and see how everything looks in a longer take.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I'd have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you
I wonder if she should do something there. Not all of it. She's pretty defensive. He's going to be moving though too, so you don't want to get it too. I'll leave it and see. But there is kind of a soft spot there, so that's at 28 seconds. Let's make a little note of that for ourselves. Then we might want to go back to that and see if that's a dead spot.
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, that looks good. I think we are ready to do a head take, so we're going to turn everything on and then turn off what we've completed. So triggers are done, left hand is done, right hand is done, lip sync is done, eye gaze we're going to do later. We're going to turn our speed to 75. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit for myself. Sorry if that messes with the ratios a bit here. Don't forget to calibrate. You know what, I'm going to zoom in I like seeing a little bit more what her face is doing.
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better. Are there other examples of times when I've overruled you?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, so if we take MedLast out of the equation, what happens to the average number of collection days?
Well, I have to figure it out, but obviously it's going to help.
Would it account for the entire problem?
No, not all of it.
How much of the problem would you say it would account for?
I don't know. 10%, I suppose.
Okay, so let's say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Okay, well, we're missing a few brows in there. I thought when watching it at that slow speed, you can kind of see. So when I didn't really do any active listening. So here where she's getting talked at, we might want to add a few brows.
Let's say that I'm responsible for 10%.
Let's say. Okay, so let's say what? So she'd be like, huh?
Say that I'm responsible for 10% of the problem. What's causing the other 90%? Judy, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do?
Okay, so when it says me.
Judy, what are you going to do about this?
Nice, I think that's going to look really good. So let's zoom all the way out. Let's delete that opaque background. And she is ready to export. Did we do James? Yeah, we did, didn't we?
So should I then go ahead and issue a letter warning of sending it to collections?
I guess you better.
Okay, so James is also done. So we can do our both scenes. So we'll go scene, new scene. Let's rename it 18. Oops, sorry, rename it 18. Both. I'm going to pull in my backgrounds. I'll pull in the James animated scene, the Judy animated scene, and now my foreground items. So main table first, and then for table on top. And in theory, we're ready to export. So I didn't do this step on camera. I've got my settings set up, so all I have to do is file, export video via media encoder and save it, and that'll open media encoder for me, which is really nice. And then here's what I've forgotten to do a few times: hit enter so that it starts processing it. And then just be patient and it will export the video, and that's what I usually send out so that they can take a peek at it and see how it's gonna look and how they can edit it and stuff. So that's normally the last step that I do, so we don't have to watch that in code. So yeah, that is scene 18 done. So once that's done rendering, I will move those scenes into a folder called 18 and set up my next. I've got 2 more with these 2 characters. So yeah, one thing that I found hard when I was learning to animate too is like not animating them the same. Like they're 2 different people. He's in an alright mood, she's in a terrible mood. They're gonna move differently, but it's hard to remember to do that when you're actually animating. Like that's the creative part, I guess, and kind of the enjoyable part, like testing out a few different ways to see what looks really good and everything. So yeah, I'm reluctant to do like, you know, VODs and streams of more than an hour. I think it gets tiresome listening to someone natter away and the fan going on constantly. So maybe I'll stop here and take a break. I will be doing more animating later. Not sure how much of it that I'll stream. Potentially I might just finish these 2 characters off stream, and then either later this evening or tomorrow we've got James in a new outfit with Kanae. I don't know if you remember from the first days when I started streaming. So this is our Kanae character, and I did rig her on camera, but unfortunately I didn't know how much about streaming at that time, and I didn't have it to auto record, so that VOD is lost. Yeah, and it was an interesting one because she has the back hair rigged, which when I was looking for help how to do that, there didn't seem to be much help available. So yeah, maybe this evening or tomorrow I'll work on James and Kanae instead of James and Judy, and I'll finish up James and Judy off camera. Partially as well, this is like the finished product you have to pay to see, so we don't want to blow everything out of the water. Yeah, but I think it's sort of fair use how we're watching it now. Hopefully everybody feels the same way. So yeah, have a great afternoon stream. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.